It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Collapse is meant to just destroy everything good and reduce everything down to pure evil. And that's the scientific program. The government is cancer, and it's run by foreign banks that, well, for lack of a better term, I would dub Satan. We'll be back with all the big news. 7 or 11, Snake Eyes watching you. The Ace of Spades. The Ace of Spades. The only God the politicians need is the Ace of Spades. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Monday, November 5th, 2012, and I am your host, Alex Jones. Bev Harris, probably the leading expert, in fact, hands down she is, when it comes to actually proving election fraud, bipartisan, across the board, nationwide. The HBO documentary, of course, Hacking Democracy. In the last 15 years, she's gone from having 90+% of people in major polls saying election fraud is impossible to now I've seen polls of 8 out of 10 people saying they know there's massive election fraud taking place. The only question is exactly who is in control of it. As Stalin famously stated, the Russian dictator, who Obama's policies more and more mirror, very creepy, said that it doesn't matter who casts the ballots, it matters who counts them. And so we're going to be looking at that today. Of course, they don't just rig elections to a great extent nationwide. There are some areas that have more transparent voting, but other areas that have been proven to be total frauds. No, they also control both of the candidates, obviously. There's a lot of different globalist special interests, but they're all linked up, pushing this global corporate, unelected, anti-free market, anti-family, post-industrial model of government that I call basically the siege government or the total government, the authoritarian government 2.0. But we're going to be looking at every angle of this with Bev Harris with an update today, just for about 10, 15 minutes. Then she'll be on with us about 30 minutes, obviously, tomorrow on Election Day, November 6th. And then I think for an hour on Wednesday in the aftermath. And she always travels the country and has a lot of different sources out there that give her very, very important information. So she's going to be joining us, and we'll be on top of that situation with Bev Harris over the next 3 days. Also, I do InfoWars Nightly News, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Mountain, every weeknight with my great crew of anchors and reporters here. And I will be hosting the news along with my reporters out in the field with live feeds, getting voter response out there on the streets of Austin, Texas. Kind of a nice snapshot of the rest of the country. Very diverse, eclectic city I live in. So we'll be having that tomorrow night from 5 to midnight and probably even longer. I'll do the 3-hour radio show, and then I'll be back 5 to midnight Central. And we're going to have Gerald Salente on, Max Kaiser, Wayne Madsen, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, Lou Rockwell, Nomi Prinz, Webster Tarpley, and I'm going to try to call Washington Times reporter Joe Curl, get his take. We're also working on getting Colonel Schaefer on, who went on Fox News over the weekend and pointed out what Joel Skousen said last Friday and what's now been confirmed. They had drones overhead with live video feeds over the 5 hours of the ambassador being killed, and that was definitely a stand down. And I'm going to ask Tarpley about this. Maybe we can get Dr. Pachinik on, because I respect both these men. I think they have great minds. I think they legitimately say what they believe. But if they're saying it was a neocon hit on the ambassador, why didn't Obama send people in to defend him? I mean, I understand a false flag to make Obama look bad, like he couldn't protect this guy, but Al-Qaeda was brought in by NATO and by the West. Obama says our military is under NATO control. That's in the executive orders. It's in the whole force structure. Just incredible things are happening in plain view. Treason. And it's bipartisan. So, I mean, does that mean neocons are actually running the Obama administration and then they're blaming him with a coup from within? I mean, that just doesn't fly. The neocons are trying to knock down the door to get back in with their darling Mitt Romney. We're going to get into that as well tomorrow night with those guests. We've also got some special guests joining us on the main radio show tomorrow. But there will be a free video. We're also going to send out over the audio feeds for everybody out there, not just video feed. Some people like to listen instead of watch. The main feeds at 5 o'clock will switch over from the rebroadcast of the radio show, retransmission of that. We'll switch over to the live coverage that we're going to have from 5 Central past midnight. I have no doubt that I'll probably punch out at midnight, and if things are still going on, it may be contested. They may postpone the election. They've got the Board of Elections in New York City in NBC, and also in other publications, CBS are reporting that the New York City Board of Elections, it's possible voting may be permitted beyond Tuesday. You've got large areas of the Jersey Shore that have declared martial law. In fact, the town where they shot Jersey Shores has over the weekend, calling it martial law. Aaron Dykes wrote an article about that title, Jersey Shore Declares Martial Law. You got a couple million in Jersey and a couple million in New York without power, and hundreds of thousands in a smattering of other states, and they can't vote. You know, they were saying that the marathon would go forward, but government couldn't get that together. And government is busy arresting people with baseball bats and bows and arrows in their homes, and arresting people that drive to a nearby state to fill up a bunch of cans of gas to bring it to their neighbors. And the police, I have the article, showed up and arrested the guy and said, you're hoarding gas. He's like, they caught him, quote, at his house giving the gas to his neighbors. See, in Katrina, they blocked everybody getting out on the highways. You could walk out or drive out. And then they even shot people, and that came out, murdered people, including a mentally retarded man who was walking out. And I remember I first reported that because we had witnesses there who heard the shots, then asked what happened, and walked up to the checkpoint, and they'd shot several people in that case, but killed a mentally retarded man who just wanted food and water and wanted to walk out. You are to go to the Superdome to be raped and die. And again, government could do a little better job helping people. They don't want to. They're there to dominate you. When a government goes bad, they put a culture of thugs in who cannot and will not help you. And it's the same thing with Chucky Schumer going out with women on TV begging him for help. We're freezing. We don't have any food. We don't have any water. And I was watching the video. These are pretty nice houses these people are living in. I could see mentally disabled, whatever, needing help. That's who government's supposed to help. By the way, it's coming out in the news. I have it here in my stack. The churches are where everyone is congregating and organizing. And it is the churches that people that did put food and water behind are going and donating part of what they've got. And that's what's holding society together 7 days into this. The churches are the ones, and the Red Cross, as usual, is taking the money and hoarding it, and will keep almost all of it. That's what they do. United Way, same ball of wax. Salvation Army is trying to help some people, but government is there directing everything, and they won't let you help them. You have to go get directions from them, and then they won't ever give you directions. And so there are just generators and piles of food and water. That's being reported. I have it here on the stack. As people beg for help, and it is Katrina 2.0. It is Katrina 2.0 right now. Sandy is Katrina 2.0. Melissa Melton, writing for Infowars.com. Threats to riot by Obama supporters reach crescendo. I played these clips yesterday. I'm going to play them again today, back to back. Michael Moore running videos saying, burn down U.S. cities if Obama not reelected, and rip Romney's genitals off. And then they go on to say in Spanish, yes, we can. I mean, this is organized calling and saying, hey, it's good to riot if your guy doesn't win. We have Bill Maher on HBO saying the same thing. Black people are going to hunt down whites and attack them. Again, they're selling the idea that it's racist if people vote for Romney. And I'm not even a Romney supporter. I know he's a globalist. But when you watch the Democrats, who are the benchmark of going as low as they can go, I mean, it is incredible how they are pimping racial division and selling it, because that's how they operate. They need to keep the old paradigm going. Because with young people, folks, I'm pretty young, and I grew up in more modern times. I mean, I did not really ever see any type of racial stuff growing up in Dallas, Texas. I mean, different groups of people didn't know each other, would beat each other up. Two different groups of black guys would beat each other up. White guys and black guys would get in a fight because they were just a different group of people. Different groups of Mexicans would get in fights with Mexicans. Different whites would get in fights with Mexicans. I mean, there was lots of that going on, but it wasn't, hey, we're going to beat you up because you're white generally, or we're going to beat you up because you're Mexican. It was people were getting in fights if they didn't know. I mean, you'd go to a bonfire, be a bunch of people in cowboy hats there, and, well, who are you? I don't know who you are. You look just like me, but I'm going to break your nose because I just feel like getting in a fight. That kind of stuff went on, but racial type stuff, I never really ran into that. And the issue here is that you turn on MSNBC, they are pushing it. You don't like government health care, you don't like socialism, you're a racist. And it is incredible what Paul Watson's put together. Threats for riot by Obama supporters reaches crescendo. Thousands of tweets on established tweets, so many we can't even count them, literally saying they're going to kill Romney, they're going to do this and that, racial type stuff. And what do you expect when you got a white guy, a poverty pimp, a divide and conquer expert, an abortion lover? You've got a death lover like Bill Maher gets up and says, hey, white folks, you vote for Romney, black people know where you're at. Imagine that level of garbage, and Michael Moore and all of them pimping racial division because that's how they control people. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So God forbid Obama not win tomorrow. Because if there's an upset and Romney wins, we're probably going to see some rioting. You see, I know that the robber barons, the British, the Dutch royalty, the Rothschilds funded eugenics, funded Adolf Hitler, funded Kaiser Wilhelm before that and the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute. I know the Democratic Party decided in about 1910 to stop being racist towards blacks and other minorities so they could get control of their communities and destroy their communities and break up their families and imprison them and abort their children. Because Margaret Sanger wrote letters about it. They're online, they're public, the scans of it. They're in her university papers. And so that's why when I watch MSNBC and I watch Bill Maher and he separately says, I want more abortion, more death, I know who he's talking about. And then when he tries to play whites and blacks off against each other, I know what he's doing. He is dividing and conquering. And let me tell you something, folks. If my children are going to be free, your children have got to be free, no matter what color they are. And I want you to be free. I want you to be wealthy and successful and dynamic. And I want our progeny to colonize the stars together because we are humankind together. And I am so sick of the racist, social engineering, vicious Democratic Party waging unmitigated, hellish war against minorities who sit there dumbed down just like the moron Democrat white people and who sit there while they're being exterminated and dumbed down and domesticated. And then you got the Republicans who on average are a little more informed, a little more successful. They at least know that free market's better and that small businesses are better and that government can't and won't deliver and that there is no free lunch. But they hate the Democrats so much they can't figure out the Republicans are totally bought and paid for by the same group and are just there to play the part of the opposition. By the way, Mitt Romney does plan on trying to stir up war with Russia and others when he gets elected. Obama's been doing the same thing. He just puts out all this pro-Russia rhetoric. You will get the neocons who like to run around openly threatening people if Mitt Romney gets in. I'm not hoping Mitt Romney gets in. I'm going to tell you something, though. Intellectually, at a gut level, and it wasn't like this even a year ago, I know and I fear that things are going to accelerate really bad under Obama. And that's all I can say. And maybe that's a good thing. Because, you know, Romney in every poll, every national poll, and in all the major swing states had come to a dead heat or was 3 to 5 points, 6 points and some ahead of Obama. And the hurricane hit, and I told you that it would let him grandstand, get the surge out of the news, get Benghazi out of the news, the Benghazi cover-up, which is now confirmed that they had live video feeds of it and stood down for 5 hours. That's confirmed. I said, and I'm not a rocket scientist here, I said this, if anything gets Obama in, this is it, along with election fraud. But both sides do it, so it's whoever can control the most machines and engage in the most cheating. And who knows, when everything's so corrupt, it's like a hall of mirrors with a smoke machine going, you know, with the ceiling turned upside down. I mean, on a roller coaster. All I know is we got a bunch of crooks running things, and we can rearrange deck chairs on the Titanic all day long. And see, I'm just like everybody else. I hoped Obama. I didn't support him because I wasn't stupid, but I said, I hope Obama lives up to his promises 4 years ago. But I said his advisors are all globalist. He's going to break every promise, and he did. Except for giving you socialist health care, and that's not even socialist. It's written by the big mega banks that own the insurance company, so I guess it was a fraud too, but he at least delivered on the surface with that. And he got in, and it was just as bad as I thought it would be. Exactly what I said would happen happened, because I know the agenda. And I'm here, even though I'm not supporting Romney or Obama, I've got to say, well, at least Romney says he's anti-abortion. At least he says he won't try to ban handguns and rifles, as Obama has said. And then I feel immoral for not endorsing and pushing Romney, because I go, well, what happens if Obama gets in and totally takes over and it's 10 times worse and isn't facing re-election, and then it really gets bad? Well, I wish later. But you know what? It's just all evil, and that's the way it is, and we as a nation are being judged here. And I'm normally very decisive, but when you're rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, the reason I can't figure out what's better in my mind of the two is because the whole ship is sinking. And that's why I can't figure out which one I want to support, because it's the left-right paradigm. Like never before, right there in front of us. I just look at how authoritarian the Democrats are and how they're pushing race baiting everywhere. It is despicable. While saying they're the anti-racist. It's so frustrating. I'm so tired of it. We're going to get into just the collapse that's happening in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey. Government, as usual, is not helping anyone, doing a horrible job, going out and arresting people that try to help their neighbors. We're going to get into the calls for rioting if Obama loses that are intensifying. Big article up at Infowars.com on that. Bev Harris is coming up. If you go to Infowars.com, and I'm Alex Jones, your host, thank you for tuning in, or PrisonPlanet.com, you'll notice we've changed the normal format on the front pages to a big puppet theater with Obama and Romney up there. And we're going to be tracking election fraud, which comes out every election, both off-year elections and big presidential elections. And we've made a lot of headway. A lot of people have gone to jail. Fraud's been certified in multiple states. Diebold executives have gone public. Others have gone public admitting fraud in the black boxes that they say are proprietary with the system, whoever controls them, depending on, in the case of Senator Hagel in Nebraska, 90+% of the votes for him cast on machines he owned, or whether it's Hart InterCivics, predominantly controlled by the Romney family, and one of Romney's sons controlling a large portion of the votes, or Democratic-connected groups controlling large swaths of the country that use different machines. It is really unprecedented that this is right in our face. What Stalin said, I don't care who votes, I care who counts the ballots, to paraphrase his famous quote. So we stand here at the threshold, and I remember 10, 12 years ago interviewing Bev Harris, and I remember interviewing the Collier brothers before they died. I remember interviewing their daughter. I remember interviewing all the different election fraud specialists, but Bev Harris is preeminent amongst them because of her tireless work and her history as a corporate fraud investigator. That now most people, I've seen national polls, 80 to 90+%, depending on which one, say they know there's problems with voting in this country. My issue is the UN is so corrupt with what they do, overthrowing countries and things, that I don't think you can have Satan come judge Beelzebub or Lucifer, and the pot can't expose the kettle here, basically, out of the frying pan into the fire. But the UN is running around as well. People out in California are being fired from the elections if they complain about it. In several states like Texas, they're saying they're going to arrest UN monitors. I think it's fine as long as they're not in the polling place itself. But see, they're not going after the machines. They're going after, people not being able to vote repeatedly. So it's that classic socialist mode. But Bev Harris is an American writer, activist, and founder of Black Box Voting, Inc., national, nonpartisan, nonprofit educational watchdog group. She helped to popularize the term black box voting while authoring the book of the same title. In 2003, she discovered the source code for voting manufacturer Diebold Election Systems, which now operates under the name Premier Election Systems. And she proved it was designed to go in and flip it and then cover it up. Oh, yeah, it's really nice. After examining these files, Harris wrote an article in July of 2003 detailing how to bypass passwords and manipulate election results on the Diebold Jim's central tally system. And, of course, they made a blockbuster film that aired on HBO, Hacking Democracy, with her. And Harris also filed a whistleblower lawsuit alleging that Diebold Election Systems had made false claims when selling their system to Alameda County, California. Diebold paid the state of California $2.6 million to settle the case. Blackboxvoting.org is her site. Bev, we're going to keep you about 10, 15 minutes. I know you're a busy lady. You're going to pop in tomorrow and then longer on Wednesday, and then maybe even Thursday once we learn of what's happened. It's not a question of will there be fraud. The only question is how much of it will we discover. Bev Harris, what are you seeing since we talked last week developing?
Well, one thing I'm seeing is a really big effort to focus people's attention away from the insiders. We're starting to see, some guy came out and claimed on the internet that he had voted 4 times in North Carolina. Understand what that is. That is an attempt to focus your eyes away from the insiders and instead put them on outsiders. The problem isn't outsiders coming in to commit fraud. The problem is happening on the inside. And, you mentioned we've made a lot of progress with public awareness. We really have. And I think now they know that the public knows there's something wrong. So they're going, well, what do we do next? Well, let's focus their attention on the outside game. No, we have to pay attention to where it's happening, and that's the people with inside access.
And I guess they call that comptroller style fraud. That's always the biggest threat, just like we saw John Corzine ordering billions of dollars to disappear.
Right. I mean, if you look at bank robbery, although it's always in the papers about, a guy with a mask who comes in with a gun to rob the bank, most theft from banks happens from the inside, from their own accounting staff. Inside fraud outnumbers outside fraud, probably in elections, 100, 1,000 to 1.
Sure. So you're saying retail fraud is always the distraction when it's the centralized fraud, and the fact that the integrity of the system is a proven scam, that's the big kahuna. Right.
And we have to get still a little bit better at detecting, at getting our BS feeder to perform better, because the idea that we're watching, if you're seeing it all over national TV, somebody is allowing it to get to national TV.
That's right. They fight tooth and nail to suppress for decades the electronic voting machine fraud that you and others have forced out in the open, but they never want to cover that.
And just a quick correction, I guess, although it's actually a difference without a difference. The Romney family itself doesn't have controlling interest in Hart InterCivic. When I say a difference without a difference, though, what it is a Bain Capital spinoff that has controlling interest. And so, you go through a couple of hoops before you find any Romneys there. And so they're, immediately, as soon as the story came out, NPR says, nothing to see here, the Romneys aren't involved, deflecting our attention from the fact that this is a Bain spinoff. Who is associated with Bain? Romney. And so we start seeing, and what's amazing is we see these outlets like NPR saying, not only is Romney himself not involved, but not to worry, even if he was, there's no problem.
Wow.
Who do they have? Who do they bring on to tell us that that's the truth? An election official who says, of course, nobody could tamper with my machines. It's just such silliness.
Yeah, you have the Democrats and the Republicans defending a proven fraudulent system. And again, I mean, I've got a couple of subsidiary companies, but they're still under my control. And to sit there and say, oh, well, you know, it's a subsidiary, so it's not a conflict of interest. That's kind of like Romney saying, I have these blind trust, and they're not really blind trust, because they're still in there manipulating them.
Right. So, you know, I think we're getting closer, though, Alex, to getting the public to the tipping point. And so now we're seeing these games of diversion, but they're really, even those aren't really working all that well. And, you know, I've told some people, look, if Romney does win, which looks very probable to me, but if he does win, then he better do poorly on the heart machines, because no amount of denial is going to take people's attention off those heart machines.
You're right. Let's talk about that, because, I mean, I see it kind of like one is cyanide, one is arsenic. Both of them are poisonous. Both of them are lethal doses. They work for the same globalist. But there are going to be some differences. I mean, I don't like the fact that Obama openly says he's going to go after handguns and rifles. You've got Romney saying he wants to, you know, expand big wars. I don't like that. I mean, it's kind of like pick your poison. But I do see Michael Moore calling for violence if Obama is not elected, saying that, well, if he's not elected, it's fraud. I see Bill Maher stirring up divide and conquer, really saying some horrible things. What do you think's going on behind that? Because you and I that are, you know, old school hands of the world studying this, they wouldn't let them, you know, go out and put this out in the media if they weren't being given some type of okay from up top. So, I mean, what do you think the strategies are on both sides from these groups? And I really respect your view. Why do you think it's going to be Romney when the mainstream media is saying it's going to be Obama?
Well, what I watch, why I think it's going to be Romney, and by the way, that doesn't have anything to do with who really voted for who. That just has to do with who the chosen winner will be. What I watch right before the election is when they send out things all over the mainstream media to create plausibility, and especially when they send out implausible things to create plausibility. Let me give you an example. In 2008 in New Hampshire in the primary, we saw this happen with Hillary Clinton. Now, she had just lost the Iowa caucus, and she came out and said, and they said, well, oh, you know, Hillary was 18 points behind, but she's caught up now because she cried. And that made all the women decide to vote for Hillary. That's what I call implausibly trying to develop a veneer of plausibility. Well, I've been seeing a lot of that in terms of the Romney thing, where they're trotting out polls that are from these companies that use a known bias in their sampling method, and they're ignoring some of the other polls. And if they're working so hard to create plausibility, then it makes me think that they need that plausibility for some reason, i.e. they plan to create a result that they need plausibility.
Sure, Bev, I agree with you to a point, but we see both sides doing this. You know, having the bookies come out in Europe and the U.S. and say, you know, 70+% chance that it's going to be Obama, or all the polls that were showing Romney winning by 3 to 5 points suddenly show it neck and neck or Obama winning.
Now, see, I've missed that. I've been watching the other flip, so who knows now? Yeah, well, then maybe not, you know.
Who knows? We're going to find out tomorrow.
At predicting winners, by the way, I should tell you that.
Well, Bev, let me just add this. When it's all a smokescreen and fraud with both sides, who could know? I mean, it's gotten so corrupt, maybe they don't even know. It's whoever can snatch the most, you know, control the most machines.
Well, yeah, there's no, regardless of who wins, there's absolutely no reason to have confidence in it. And there's also no reason to commit violence, because guess what? That's not going to get us any farther, any more than, you know, you see a bunch of people marching around in the street with signs nowadays. That doesn't work. That worked in the 60s. It doesn't work now. You know, we're really looking at this point, we need to expose the fraud, and we need to do litigation and hope that we get a good judge. You remember with the tobacco litigation, they eventually won after losing a lot of battles because they just kept throwing it against the wall until they got a judge that found their way.
Well, that's like George Washington lost almost every battle but never gave up, so they finally won. I mean, it's whoever wants it the most.
Yeah, exactly. And And we see this when we see them, pushing in, for example, internet voting, which is like the worst of all worlds. And every time it gets defeated by citizens coming up to the legislator and testifying against it, it comes right back the next year with its corporate sponsors. Well, we got to do the same thing. If we want public sovereignty, if we want public control of our own government, we can't just give up after losing one fight. This is not something, and I tell people, we've got to get off the treadmill. It's not something just about one election. It's about restoring our freedom.
That's right. We get 60% turnouts on average for these big presidential elections, or close to it. And you get, 8.5 or so. What's the average? Last time I checked, 8.6. Local turnout. We need people to take over their local towns and cities. We need people to take over the states. That's where the rubber meets the road, not just every 4 years wake up for a few months and then go back to sleep.
And the same thing goes with if you're going to litigate about election, getting them back in the open, pick a small issue-oriented thing that happens locally, because there's not going to be as much dollars behind defending that. And all you have to do is win the principle. It doesn't matter which race you win the principle with.
Now, I know in the past, one of the final questions we've gotten, we'll get a bigger update from you on Election Day and then on Wednesday in the aftermath. Obviously, that's what's going to be really important, is what happens in the aftermath with Bev Harris of blackboxvoting.org. Now, I've studied this quite a bit, but break it down as simply as you could in a few minutes, like you were talking to, say, a CNN audience. How does the election work when you see them come out and act like they've all gotten the numbers first? I know it was voter news services in the past, because it's not just regional fraud. I know we've seen chicanery up at the national level when they integrate that. What's the company called now?
It's called NEP, National Election Pool. It's the same guys as the Voter News Service. They just changed their name. And essentially, when you're watching CNN and you're channel surfing from channel to channel, and they're all pretending that they have their own analysts, and they're going to tell you, it's not. They don't have different analysts. They're all using NEP. They all pay NEP. They have one set of analysts, and they all repeat the same numbers and pretend that they're having a horse race for who can get the results first. And what's so interesting is NEP this year has decided it's not going to exit poll 19 states. So I tell you, I really am. I'm going to watch TV tomorrow night with a stopwatch and see how quickly they call the states where they happen to have canceled the exit poll.
Unbelievable. What's your intel on what CBS News and others are reporting that the New York Board of Elections is saying they may allow voting past Tuesday? What in the world is that going to do?
Not just that, they also said people can fax in their vote, they can email it in, and they're blaming it on the storm. But here's what I don't understand. In the Help America Vote Act, one of the things that they required was a disaster plan, because of course it can happen. If you're going to depend on electronics and the electricity goes out, you need to have a backup plan. They have backup plans. So I also am a little confused by that too, though, because they say that New York and New Jersey are not particularly swing states, so I don't know if that might be aimed at the House or something like that.
Yeah, we've got some close races in the House and the Senate on both fronts, but I mean, that gives the lawyers more time to stir stuff up. That gives companies longer to find extra votes, tweak things. That's not a good sign, though, probably, if they keep the election results out there for a couple days.
Well, you think that's bad? Try California. They keep counting the votes 3 weeks after the election. I'm not kidding you. This is the thing now in California. They start counting the absentee votes, which is about 50% of the votes in California, 3 weeks before the election. So they pretty much know what they need on Election Day. And they keep counting these straggler votes all the way up for another 3 weeks. It's crazy to keep doing that.
Unbelievable. Bev, we've got a minute left. You're back with us tomorrow. Any other tidbits you'd like to relay to the audience?
I think we're just going to have to watch and see which way the wind blows, and then the real work starts to unravel and find out how it happened. Regardless of who wins, it doesn't really matter. We have to unravel it and prove, at least find 1 or 2 locations that'll make good test either lawsuits or fraud investigations.
Because we've got to get the integrity of the system back if we're ever going to get out of this mess.
Right. It's a structural problem, and so we have to tackle, we're probably going to have the best luck tackling that at the local level or in one defined situation, and then expanding the principle out beyond that after we win a smaller one.
Folks, if you want to make real change, go to blackboxvoting.org and donate. Support this lady. She's going to be out there, and in the days and weeks after, we'll get updates from her as she ferrets out more corruption. She is absolutely like a pit bull, expose these guys over and over again. Bev Harris, we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Alex.
There goes Bev Harris. We're going to go to break. We're going to come back. I'm going to give you kind of a breakdown of some of the news we've got we're going to be going over. And then it's going to be open phones. Open phones throughout the next 2 hours here today. It's the day before the 2012 presidential election. It's November 5th, and I quite frankly just want to get this thing over with because it becomes a big distraction while they're busy having the courts rule there's no Fourth Amendment, while they're busy, you know, coming after our freedoms. The Republicans and Democrats are both the problem. We'll be right back. Okay, we're going to be getting into hurricane victims and what they're witnessing while we're busy distracted by the election. And another example of government can't and won't protect you. But if you've got a bow and arrow to protect your house, they're going to arrest you. If you drive to the nearby state to get cans of gas for your neighbors and deliver it to your neighbors, not even selling it, you're going to go to jail. If you try to help anybody, you're going to go to jail. Government's still out writing tickets, generating revenue with pleasure. Churches are trying as best they can to feed and clothe people as usual. Government's working as best it can to abolish churches and turn them into government 501c3 charities. That's all coming up. Incredible videos contained in the article by Paul Joseph Watson. Threats to riot by Obama supporters reaches crescendo. We're going to be going over all that. Now, on Friday, we had some callers who were in New Jersey and in New York. It was 3 or 4 of them left on the line when the show ended who wanted to tell what they'd seen and what's happening. That was 4 days into it, 5 days into it. We're now 7 days into millions and millions of people in New Jersey, New York without power, looting intensifying, you name it. Media keeping it as quiet as they can because they don't want it to be an election issue. We're going to be breaking all that down. The toll-free number to join us on air, 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. Now, if you go up to Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com, we have Infowars Nightly News every night at 7 o'clock. But we're going to have tomorrow a free video feed. The audio feeds are always free, but we couldn't pay to have free video feeds all the time. It costs me sometimes $15,000 to stream free video because if you get, 800,000 people over a day logging in, I mean, it's a big bill, even if you buy it in bulk. But we are going to have free video feeds tomorrow at 11 a.m. to 2 in the Listen Live area. If you just click the big mega banners at the top of Infowars.com that show Mitt Romney and Obama as puppets, you click on that, it'll take you to a page that has a video box. In fact, we ought to just start having that stream today. Just get people used to it so folks can send that link out. I'll tell the IT guys to go ahead and fire that video link up today. And then starting tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central, 12 noon Eastern, during the show, it'll be a live feed. The audio feeds will be carrying it as well. And then 5 to midnight, we'll have live election coverage for Infowars Nightly News, free to everybody. We're going to have Gerald Celente on, then Max Kaiser, Wayne Madsen, Paul Craig Roberts, Lou Rockwell, Naomi Prinz, Webster Tarpley, and others. David Icke, by the way, is on tomorrow in the middle of the show. We got Jesse Ventura for the aftermath of the election on Wednesday. So that is all coming up here. And I want to ask everybody to go to Infowars.com. The whole top of the site now looks like a stage because it's puppets on it. Click that. It takes you to the page with a short blurb that Kurt Nimmo put together with the free video feed. And that's the link to have. You go to Infowars.com, click here to watch. You click on that, and you get the link, and it goes out to everybody so that everybody has that link. And by the way, radio stations out there, I know you'll be carrying Fox and CNN and AP radio and stuff. Anytime you want to just hear something you like during live election coverage, our affiliates out there, you are more than welcome to go and grab the high-fidelity audio feeds we're going to have with all these big guests, or you're welcome to cut any excerpts out and play it on your news with people like Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, former head of the Treasury Department and Policy, Lou Rockwell, Ron Paul's former chief of staff, Naomi Prinz, Webster Tarpley, Gerald Celente, and many others. By the way, Ron Paul, it was nice to get contacted by Ron Paul. Usually we do the other way. Last week we got contacted via Lou Rockwell for Ron Paul saying, hey, he wants to come on the show. So that's this Friday coming up in the aftermath of the election. Ron Paul hadn't been on a while. He was so busy with the campaign, I didn't want to wear him out. So Ron Paul is going to be on the show as well. All right, stay with us. Your calls are coming up. We are back live, ladies and gentlemen, another hour of the Alex Jones Show, and I am your host, Alex Jones. It is the day before the elections, the eve of the elections, and we're going to be here, I don't know, like 10 hours tomorrow total, maybe longer. I'm going to go until midnight Central tomorrow, and then whoever wants to, from our great crew, David Knight, David Ortiz, Jakari Jackson, Melissa Melton, Darren McBreen, John Bown, Aaron Dykes, Paul Watson, and so many others here of our great reporters. Dan Badani's coming back today from visiting family in Rhode Island. He went through the storm. He'll be here as well. Of all our great reporters, Rob Dew, they're all going to, we'll probably have some roundtables after all the guests and stuff tomorrow. Anyways, I've just got that on my mind. I just can't wait to see what comes out of this giant puppet event. Because you've got election fraud by both sides. You've got no doubt. Well, I'm going to talk about this more in the next segment after some calls. I mean, I cannot believe. Will you guys queue up the Michael Moore and then the other clip? Bill Maher, yeah. And Aaron just found more clips of serious demonstrators for Obama saying we want abortion to get rid, basically, of the ugly black kids. Black people saying this. And I've actually had black people tell me this repeatedly. I've had white people say it about black. It's so sick that the left is not the left at all. They are a bunch of monsters. They are a bunch of the pie is one size. We want socialism. We want to pull everybody down, and we want to abort people. He was just showing me this footage. What made me so mad about it is I saw it weeks ago and didn't even play it on air because it's so horrible. We're going to have to bleep that out and then tie it in with the other doctor saying, you know, we're going to abort all the ugly black babies. And I'm not trying to just get off into this all day. Every time I'm around the so-called left, all they talk about is killing babies and how great it is and how they love death. I mean, I can play Bill Maher saying he loves death because they're eugenicists, and even their minions are eugenicists. The victims of it sit around getting into it. And I guess it's the old thing, if you can't beat them, join them. I, for one, have had enough of these people. And then I wish there was an alternative in Mitt Romney. But I'm not dumb enough to sit there and be suckered by it. But still, at a subconscious level, you want to hit the reset button. Come on, change something. I hope Obama changes it all. He did what I thought he'd do. Come on, Romney, change it, but he won't. Because we've gotten lazy and we've let corrupt people run everything. Tommy, from Friday, we got his number and called him back if we didn't get to him on air. He's in New York. Man, 7 days without power in many areas. How are you faring? What can you tell us?
I'm actually pretty good. I have a couple locations. I was down in the East Village where that power plant blew up. I don't know if you saw the video online. I'm about like 3 or 4 blocks away from that. And
wow.
It was really, 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 really crazy. I mean, the East River, the ocean was coming right down Avenue C and Avenue D. People did not leave their homes. People were not prepared, and they all got flooded out. So, I mean, it was definitely shocking to see that in the place that, you know, people were not expecting it.
Have you seen the reports of police arresting people trying to defend their homes and arresting people that try to bring gasoline to their neighbors?
Yeah, I've seen those reports, and actually I want to speak on that too. Like, first of all, like I expected, I'm a listener, I'm actually a Prison Planet subscriber, and I expected an exercise of martial law. That was the first thing I thought was going to happen. And at first it seemed that way because they put in bridge restrictions, and there was the gas shortages, and they closed the ports.
You know what? I want to hear this all after the break. Stay there. I'm going to come back and give you the floor. Tommy in New York. Okay, you going to hold?
Yeah, man, I'll hold for you.
Okay, great. Put him on hold. I don't want to cut him short. I always do that. We're going to come back to Tommy. Then we're going to go to Bill, Michael, CJ, Chet. Chet's in New York, and others. We'll go to Chet after we talk to Tommy first. But we got open phones, not just folks on the East Coast. But we will give preferential, you know, head of the line if you've got a report for us. Because we're going to talk about what's happened. They're talking about postponing the election or having it drag out a few more days. So this circus could really get crazy. Stay with us. Okay, We're going to go to Tommy in New York, who has been in the middle of the disaster that is Sandy and the government response that's a big part of the disaster. Chet in New York and others. We are going to get to everybody here today. And we are also going to continue breaking down a little spoof video that I put out last night that 15 seconds into it, I explained it is a spoof. I see my IT guys running around. Yeah, it's weird. Every once in a while, if I get right up on the microphone like that, it creates like a thing after it. And that's what happened with another Neumann microphone of this same design years ago. Remember that? Just a little technical stuff. Most people probably can't hear it, but it's very strange. Continuing, I called the video "Breaking Mitt Romney Elected 45th President." And then I go on to say, no, he hasn't been. But then I show Democrats with just hundreds of articles out there saying, Obama's going to win, landslide, there's no way he can lose, 85%, New York Times with their little push poll. The bookies in Europe and England and Ireland and the U.S. are already paying out on Obama. And my point is that's the attempt to create a foregone conclusion. And the only reason I tend to get even more concerned about 4 years of Obama is because he's not facing re-election. He'll have the power of the pardon. He'll have the power of the executive order unbridled, which he's shown he'll do more than any other president. And I'm not naive. I know it's because we're further down the rat hole now in the New World Order. That's why each president gets worse than the last. But I hoped Obama would turn out to be good. I didn't support him. I didn't support John McCain. I knew John McCain was throwing that election. I knew that was the equivalent of a Don King boxing match, as phony as a $3 bill. And I said that at the time. Joe Farah wrote that at the time for WorldNet Daily, saying, none of the above. Wrote a book called that. But with this Obama thing, I mean, saying small businesses didn't build it, that they're going to shut down the coal power plants, that they're going to take the handguns and rifles. I mean, even though I know Romney's bad, man, when Obama is saying he's coming for my guns, when Obama is saying he's going to put the military completely under the UN and NATO, me and my wife have sat around. My wife was this morning, and she is somebody raised a Democrat. She's been a patriot for about 15, 16 years since I woke her up. Smart lady, but she's sitting there going, man, I want to leave the country if Obama gets reelected. I'm telling you. Because, we have those discussions every day. Do we get out of here? And it's like, well, we don't, where are we going to go? Everywhere is under the New World Order. And they're making laws, even where post-tax money, you can't get it out of the country. I mean, they don't want to, folks, this country's going into tyranny. And I just said, well, look, it's going to be bad if Romney gets in, too, and we got to just stand and fight. But, I mean, it's down to around my breakfast table at 7 a.m. while drinking a cup of Joe with my wife every day. Every day I'm having to say, no, we're going to stay. And you know what? Even if they end up rounding us up and putting us in prison or killing us, I mean, I guess you can call it a wrong decision, but I don't think it's a wrong decision to stay and speak out against this. But I want listeners to understand, this is not a game. I'm not saying this for hyperbole, okay? My wife's got a degree in history and English. She got a special degree via UT in Normandy, France. I have been a history buff. I've studied geopolitical systems, and I've interviewed scores of constitutional lawyers and historians from across the political spectrum who say, yes, we're going into hot, dangerous, evil tyranny. And a lot of people say, well, then I'm just going to cower and try to go along with the system. No. Historically, that is what will get us destroyed. That's like if you see a grizzly bear walking along at Yellowstone Park and you run from it, even if it isn't hungry, even if it just ate a elk and it's dragging its belly, it's going to chase you down and going to kill you probably. 90+% chance, they say. I've even read a book on bears, very interesting, people that have dealt with them. You run, you're dinner. I mean, everybody knows that about dogs. Some big dog comes up to you on the street and starts acting like it's going to, bite you. If you run, it's going to bite you. You've got to say, hey, get your dog under control, pal. Sometimes it's a punk, and they go, hey, what's your problem? And you just got to tell them, I'm going to stomp your head right now. I'll stomp you. I mean, you got to deal with punks out there. But the point is that I'm certainly not going to run from it and get attacked. And we got to face this head on. And all of you that work for the system, listen, if you don't know history and you can make excuses about what's going on, when the Supreme Court set to rule that they can come in your house without warrants if a police dog smells something, or that they can put cameras in your backyard without telling you, without a warrant, or put GPS on your car without a warrant, or pull you over and download your cell phone content saying it's not your personal belongings when it's as intimate as it gets. I'm going to stop right there and go to your calls, Tommy and others. We're going to get to all of this, but, you know, I did this video that's gone viral. It's going viral. Breaking: Mitt Romney elected 45th president. It's up on our big YouTube channel. Get it out to everybody because it just points out how both sides are trying to act like, I mean, Romney's already acting like he's the president. Obama's been acting presidential, running around with the whole hurricane situation. And, you know, quite frankly, there's so much fraud. I don't even know if the establishment knows who's going to get in. That's why they just made sure they had both guys already bought and paid for. And it does mean different styles. I mean, at least Mitt Romney says churches shouldn't have to pay for abortions for their employees. At least Mitt Romney says, and see, I say that because I feel immoral if I don't say at least Romney has to pay lip service to good things. But a lot of people that think the government's their mommy and their daddy and feel powerful through government, through that extension, through that reflected glory, they really think abortion's a beautiful, wonderful thing. They really think of forced inoculation's a great thing. They really, I mean, I run into these people. They are so pathetic. And those that love government are always so pathetically naive and weak. I mean, they really think the government, the man, wants to give them a free lunch. And a lot of them do get a free lunch, but towards a greater takeover. Towards a greater destruction of society. Government independency wrecks civilizations. There's no, the facts are in over and over again on that. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Let's go to Tommy in New York. Tommy, give us your report on where you are in New York and what you've witnessed and what's happening.
Okay, so I'm currently in the East Village, also known as Alphabet City, which is where probably the most devastation in New York and Manhattan happened. I also visited. I'm only going to speak on what I've seen personally, and then what I'm also hearing from residents and other places. I've been to Long Island, and I've been all over Manhattan, and basically, like, part of the city is completely fine and doesn't even know what's going on down here and are going about their daily lives as if nothing's happened. Meanwhile, other people are struggling very, 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 very severely, especially in places like Staten Island, Long Beach, Long Island, all the way down the barrier beaches, Rockaways in Queens, Breezy Point, which is actually a very upper-class neighborhood, was destroyed, burned by fires, 130 homes burned. You know, it's a very big spectrum between, like, parts of the city. And like I said, I was expecting an exercise of martial law, but that's not exactly what I saw, Alex. I want to kind of go against some of the reports that you guys are talking about. What I've seen more than anything is in people helping each other. I've really seen neighbors really going out, collecting food, going into the projects over here. The projects is the government housing in the neighborhoods nearby, and knocking on doors, making sure elderly are okay, bringing them food. There was people with bicycles, with bicycle-powered generators, trying to make cell phone plug-in spots for people. You know, I haven't seen too much FEMA. I've only seen, like, one maybe government truck around here in Manhattan, and it's basically been neighbors helping each other. And as I said before, there were bridge restrictions initially, and you know, the gas shortage. Immediately, I thought, "Wow, martial law! Here it is. They're gonna try it." But to be honest with you, I think that it was all really practical what they did. Like, when they opened up the bridges the next day, there was such bad gridlock, and there were no street lights, so they couldn't, like, people just couldn't get places where they needed to go. So they created a bridge restriction, and then they lifted it. The bridge restriction was 3 people per car. You couldn't get in or out of Manhattan unless you had more than one person with you. And that was really, really
sure,
hard.
Listen, brother, that's why we opened the phones up unscreened from New York and New Jersey to get your take. But let me just be specific. I'm reporting on Jersey Shore in their press release calling it martial law. I didn't mean martial law in your area of Manhattan. When you have, what is it, 500,000 people a year being stopped and frisked without warrants, that's martial law. My point is that this could be used to postpone the election, which they're now talking about postponing or extending it. And actually, if you were listening during the first hour, I said it's the churches and the citizens and the people that were prepared that are taking care of people. Government can't and won't protect you and isn't delivering. I have a whole stack of news here. So just to be clear, that's my position from afar. We've got you on to give us human intelligence on the ground. But correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, FEMA isn't doing anything as usual, and it's the people that are maintaining civilization. Is that a correct statement?
From my view, absolutely. I've not seen FEMA really anywhere around my neighborhood. And my mother, actually, who's in Long Island, who just got power yesterday, she called them and she had no avail. What ended up happening is I had to drive to Pennsylvania to get gas and a generator, and I brought it. If you look at a map, it's about 100 miles or so, 50 in each direction. I went all the way to Pennsylvania, got gas, brought it all the way to Long Island, tried to deliver it, and what I noticed is people are just very grossly unprepared, and neighbors are helping each other, not the government.
Yeah, that's the big news here. What percentage of people, in closing, would you say are totally unprepared? Half?
Yeah, I would say more than half, actually. But the city recovered well, man. New Yorkers.
All right, brother. Thank you. We got to go to break. Alex Jones here, back live. We're going to try to race through some of your calls now, and then I'm going to get into a story linked up at drudgereport.com, by naturalnews.com. Baltimore announces citywide surveillance rollout that records passenger conversations on city buses. This has already happened all over the country. They're now just admitting it. And I'm so busy, and now it's so passé that we lived in a police state so long that even I'm conditioned that I've confirmed they're putting up microphones inside, and cameras in some of them, inside streetlights in Austin. I've confirmed it, and I haven't even gone out to do a report yet. I mean, that's when you know you're living in tyranny, where it's not even a big deal anymore. Unbelievable. And again, it's not for your safety. Let's get that through your head. They haven't converted some police departments over to pure evil yet, but they're trying. Let's go ahead and go to Chet in New York. Then we'll go to Bill and others. Chet in New York, what are you seeing up there?
All right, my friend. How are you, Mr. Jones and
Good.
crew?
Good. Thank you for calling.
First, my prayers go out to gentlemen like Tom and everyone on the coast there. Up here in Naziville, we're at the southwestern shore of Lake Ontario.
Yes.
And all we had was like a storm surge on the lake and some high winds. My daughter and her husband went down to the lake because they live close to the lake, and they were just kind of riding around because they, like being outside. That's how I grew them up, and they're just watching the waves, which were pretty high. So the Nazi stormtroopers show up, and they tell them they have to leave the area. This is along the North Greece Road, is what it's called. Up here in New York, and so even this far, because my son-in-law, he asked, he goes, well, why are you asking us to leave? There's, we're just watching the waves. He goes, no, there's going to be a disaster here, which of course it wasn't. We've been up here so long.
But see, again, government where it's really bad, like Katrina, or there in Manhattan, Staten Island and places just devastated. Government can't do anything, and then. But instead, though, where nothing's going on, they can run around and say, get out of here, when it's pretty clear a guy's sitting there with his girlfriend or wife or whatever, checking stuff out. When a couple's out, by the lake, because it is neat. I mean, I grew up in Dallas on Lake Ray Hubbard, and we used to go down, my dad, mom, and us, and watch. We didn't live on the lake. We lived up the hill. We'd go down by the park and watch the waves slamming in. It was pretty cool. But the point is that, but then you see their perspective, hey, let's just get everybody off the streets, because they were told it was the end of the world. So it's a complex issue, but I'm just glad people weren't hurt or killed in your area.
Amen, brother. I was just trying to give that perspective from, this far, inland. That's what they were doing. And I know in Manhattan, of course, and in New Jersey, it's a terrible mess. But then you had, Governor Christie coming out as a thug, basically.
Well, he banned Halloween so he could have all the candy bars sent to him.
Probably, and then you had, Mr. Bumbleberg going, hey, let's have a race, and I'm glad people stood up to him also, where, we're just, I know you guys are all happy, nothing worse happened on that end, but we know the end run on that one is what you said earlier, that they're trying to steer the election It's definitely in that game plan of theirs. And like I've always said, my friend, that, you know, people ask, when is the New World Order coming?
It already got here.
We're already living it.
No, that's it. We're already in the pot being boiled. The question is, how high is the flame? Real quick, who do you think is going to win the election tomorrow?
I'm pretty sure, Mr. Jones, it's going to be Romney. I think that the fix-in is for the count. You know,
not old Bumbles, huh?
Because he already kicked out. Big Bird is out, you know. Old Bumbles, he's going under the bus. Well, and like okay, when you were talking about the bookies and everything.
Well, yeah, in fact, I meant to make this point about the bookies. They're up there saying it's so scientific. If they're throwing $6 billion at this election, the New York Times is saying, so who knows if that's even true. It's over $3 billion. They're saying it could be $6 billion when it's all done. If they're throwing billions of dollars at this, you can go shift these bets with a few $1 million just so they can say that it's going, you know, 4-1 Obama. But I mean, make your point about the bookies. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. No, I love you talking about it. Well, when I was a young man, I know sometimes you talk about you and your buddies with the golf carts and taking a little bit of beer from people.
Yeah.
Well, when I was a young fellow, I used to like to gamble, and I'm up here in Rochester, which is a stronghold, you know, for the mafia and stuff. So I knew after nightclubs and all that stuff, you know, play a little cards, this and that. But the thing is, once they put the fix in to where they give you that one that's supposed to win, that's the one that's not going to win. You know, that's how gamblers work.
Well, that's right. They can run all sorts of scams. And again, folks, yes, the only theft I've ever engaged in is a few times taking wine and beer out of the golf cart ice chest of drunk golfers because we wanted beer when we were 14, 15. But I was also like Spalding from Caddyshack. I would go into the clubhouse and drink everybody's half-drunk drink. You have found it, the tip of the spear, coming to you from deep in the heart of F.E.M.A Region 6, formerly Austin, Texas. I'm Alex Jones. I want my country. I want my freedom back. I want the government off my back, and I want the global corporations that are conquering us for economic espionage exposed and then defeated. I want the constitutional republic returned. Okay, I'm going to try to go to as many calls as I can now because I need to get to a bunch of news. Some military news, police state news, election news. The Democrats openly engaging in race baiting and trying to get conflict going. Unbelievably despicable. All of that is coming up. Bill in Florida, listening on WTAN 1340 AM. Bill, thank you for calling.
Alex, I have two issues. Let's hit the first one, and I'll hit the second one. First issue is it's been on the news that Mitt Romney's son, Tag, is invested heavily in the voting machines of Ohio, okay? And they said also Colorado, but I know Ohio for sure. And I've heard that on mainstream news media, and then my buddy looked it up on the computer. He says, sure enough, it's true.
Yeah, well, it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. It's a subsidiary of Bain, so it's not completely true, but it's partially true.
That's very troubling. And my opinion on that is I think the fix is in, and Romney's going to be the next president. Okay, that the fix is in. Okay, my next point, we got another battery company on the verge of bankruptcy, Alex, and there's a guy been going on all the internet and all the radio shows trying to pump this thing up, and they did a 1-for-5 reverse stock split 2 Fridays ago. Their CFO walked off the job. They're selling off their company left and right, and they're trying to pump the stock up. And if you guys own it, get the hell out of it. It's CBAK. It's China.
Well, here's the deal. I don't know anything about batteries and stocks, and I don't want to even be anywhere near pump and dumps or whatever is going on. So I can't really speak to that because I know nothing about it.
Alex, it's CBAK. It trades on our NASDAQ, and it's a shame. Okay?
Well, I mean, I know the globalists do everything they can. God bless you, sir. Anything else? I have a point I want to make on this.
No, I just want to say, God help us tomorrow. Here's my big problem with Romney, and he's been pounding his chest from day one about going to war with Iran, okay? And I heard a guy last night talking, a guest on another show, and he was saying that he surrounded himself with all the Bush-Cheney people, from the John Boltons to the one that exposed Valerie Plame. He's got all these neocons surrounding him, and they all want to go to war with Iran, and that's what's very troubling. That's the one reason why I don't want him in there, Alex, because he wants to go to war with Iran, and we can't afford it anymore.
No, I hear you. I hear you, but Obama is moving that way as well. So, I mean, we're darned if we do, and you know what if we don't. Thank you for the call. Yeah, I've got it somewhere in this ridiculous stack. Can you guys document cam this? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Got 25 stacks here. 25 stacks of news. And that way, when I read it all and go over it, I can have knowledge when you call in on topics. But it doesn't mean we ever get to about 10% of it here on air. But here's the issue. I saw an article and then even found the video. Bill Clinton is now giving speeches saying Mitt Romney is, quote, coming for the Irish. I mean, this is unbelievable. And again, I guess just where I come from in Texas, I never heard anything about the Irish. I'm part Irish myself, but everybody around here, if they're, quote, Anglos, a Heinz 57, you know, German, Czech, Irish, English, Scottish, I mean, French. It's like the whole 9 yards. You know, my ancestors have been in this country over 300-plus years, and there's been a lot of intermarrying and stuff going on. But Bill Clinton literally going, listen, I am Irish, as you know, and he was bashing the Italians. Mitt Romney is going after the Italians. And Bill Clinton is now attacking Mitt Romney for saying we shouldn't ship Jeep to Italy, as if it has anything to do with being anti-Italian. If you don't, hey, how about we keep Jeep right here so that Americans, whether they're come from any background, Italian, black, I mean, I don't care, can have a job. And our bailout money to GM and Chrysler and all of this has been used to ship Cadillac and Volt and then Chrysler division Jeep overseas. First it was going to go to China, then it was going to go to Chinese parts and then assembled in Italy. Look, Italy makes great cars, motorcycles, mopeds, sunglasses, clothes. I love Italian stuff. Mangia. From Italian food right up and down the block. And it just shows this new total racial thing the Democrats do. I will guarantee you, and I'm not defending Mitt Romney, I'm defending reality, to say that Mitt Romney is bashing the Italians, that he came out and said, don't ship Jeep to Italy. It was in the news 2 weeks ago that Jeep, they're looking, and the Chrysler execs confirmed, moving it to China or Italy, and now they're settling on parts from China assembled in Italy. I mean, can we have something for America? I mean, and it turns into racism? Racism against Italians, that we don't want Jeep going to Italy? And that bailout money has had General Motors ship Cadillac and Volt to China? I mean, I want China to have a future. I care about the Chinese people. They're not going to get a future working at slave labor levels. That's just going to lower our future. Many Chinese are worse off than they were a few decades ago. If you're the top communist Chinese, they're billionaires and people making money off of enslaving the people with suicide nets around the Apple factories. By the way, every time I mention suicide nets, people call me or email me or on the street go, I thought you were making that up about suicide nets and forced abortions at the Apple factories, the Apple contractor factories. I went and looked that up. That's true. Yeah, they got mobile execution vans, too, in China in every city, 24 per major city. Don't believe me, just type in suicide van, not suicide vans, execution vans. Guys, type in execution vans China. It'll be AP, Reuters, photos of them choking women, dragging them into them to gut them, rich Americans fly in and get the, quote, fresh organs. You know, the point is that when you let China go to this low level, it sucks the whole world down. Globalism is a giant sucking sound, like Ross Perot said. And boy, was he right about NAFTA and GATT. Boy, howdy was he. But, I mean, I saw that video this morning, and I meant to send it to you guys. I didn't. There it is, China's high-tech death van, where criminals are executed and then their organs are sold on the black market. That's from March of 2009. It was first in the Financial Times of London a year before that. Yeah, there is being led on to be killed. I mean, you can't make this up. If you find the Times of London one, it's got them choking a woman with a rope around her neck as they drag her in. I mean, the point is, the mass cloning's going on. They use babies for rendering plants of dead babies they forcibly abort that then is put into collagen for women's products. Heaven help us. Because when we write off China, or when they say, oh, it's building their economy up. No, it's not. It's a race to the bottom. The Chinese, I went and saw a movie that I want to review because it's got some good things in it, some bad things. I believe the makers, the Wachowski brother and sister, I believe that they are good people. I know people that know them, and they say they've seen my films and listened to the show some. So if you're out there, Wachowskis, we'd like to have you on. But I went and saw Cloud Atlas with my wife, and, you know, it's all about human liberty and empowering humanity. Some of it I think is negative, but I think it comes from a perspective where they really do want to liberate people. And I'm not going to blow the plot of the film for you, but it deals with a future where we're dehumanized biological androids. Well, folks, when you see the drones going in to be rendered in this movie and fed back to the other drones, Soylent Green, that's what's really going on, but in a more sophisticated system. Through the hospitals, where they steal the wealth, the energy you've stored up, through the cancer industry. That's why I don't like Lance Armstrong, all the things I know about him, because family's known him, and I have multiple connections to Lance Armstrong. Just I live here in Austin and just happen to fall in with people that have been, you know, very close to him, you know, best friends with his wife, people like that, his ex-wife. And I knew what a bad person he was, but so what? He's a bad, arrogant, you know, chauvinist, narcissistic, you know, guy. That's his issue. Bigger they are, the harder they fall. It's just frustrating that I got him through two separate people that I knew him well, got him information on cancer viruses and vaccine, the cancer industry. Hey, why don't we find the cause instead of the cure? And it was just all about him getting tax-free money. And that I was told to go to hell by both people. That they brought it to him, caring listeners, one guy that was on a board with him, another person that knows him intimately. They bring it to Lance Armstrong, and he goes, Alex Jones, I'm not even looking at what that conspiracy bleeper says. But, hey, this is about, let's find the cause, not the cure. And he didn't want to hear any of it. And you know, because I literally dream about having the type of power that Lance Armstrong had. But, see, he was typecast and chosen by the establishment to be their front man because they knew who he was. They helped him cheat in the cycling associations. That's come out. And then now they're destroying him because that's part of the ritual. Build up the hero, destroy it, so you think there's nobody really good in the world. They want to sell you on giving up and being corrupt. Well, let me just explain something. I'm no hero, but I'm real. I try to only promote what I believe is the best products and that I feel good promoting that I personally use to fund my operation and still feel guilty doing it. I try to tell you the truth. I try to really get reality and really pay it forward because I believe in humanity. I want us to have a future. I'm in love with the creativity and the beauty that our species has put forward. And I want human liberty. I want freedom. And I don't want scam artists running everything because they are shuttered mentally. We're going to go to more of your calls. People are holding. We're going to get to CJ and Michael and then Cindy and Mark and Lauren and everybody. We're going to get to everybody coming up. But I need to start getting to some of this news right now. I covered this some yesterday. But it makes me so angry to know people high up in MTV who in the mid-90s were told, we're going to take the most destructive gangster culture and we're going to first deploy it into the black community and then we're going to deploy it into all the other communities to basically destroy people. And KRS-One, Professor Griff, they've all spoken about it as black men, successful artists. But the folks I've talked to from multiple angles are white. And they were there and wouldn't be part of it. Okay? But the point is that this is scientific. When Bill Maher gets up and says Obama needs to be more gangsterish and pull out guns on people, but he's for banning citizens having guns. He just wants people illegally as gangbangers having guns. And black gangbangers and rap people killing each other because that's what a man does. No, that's not what a man does. A man stays with their wife and raises their family, or at least tries to take care of their family. And to know that this has been deployed, and to know Bill Maher says he wants more abortion, and to know that we've found more liberals on tape now, including black people, saying let's get rid of black people, to see stuff like this while they lecture those of us that are against socialism. See, Obamacare is bad because it's written by the insurance companies to force us into government eugenics health care. That's why it's bad, not because Obama's black. And it makes me angry. They know full well people don't like socialism because they know how horrible it is. They know full well it isn't because they hate black people. What does that even have to do with it? It's like saying I don't like, orange juice. You say, well, that means you don't like Japanese people. And you're like, what does that have to do with it? They inject this in there and shove it in there. And then all the public is conversant in is race and group stuff and what group they identify with. And I'm so sick of it. It's all part of this hollowness. And then I see Michael Moore put out videos where they talk about ripping Mitt Romney's genitals off and this latest thing from last Friday night with Bill Maher saying, black people are going to come after white people if Obama doesn't win, implying that if Obama loses, it's election fraud. Hey, Bill Maher, why don't you talk about how there's election fraud in black box systems across the board? Instead of always doing this, and I happen to know people that know Bill Maher very well. He is a horrible person. He is a self-centered pig, and I predict his downfall just like Lance Armstrong. You got God to deal with, buddy. But and we're going to do some reports on him when he says he loves death and loves abortion. These are sick people, and they make me so angry because these are the people that are going to hold back humanity, and I'm tired of them. I'm tired of them sowing the seeds of our destruction so they can play the part of the good guy referee while they're selling the gangster culture. We got a bunch of clips together. We're going to do a report soon. David Ortiz wants to do it with all of his different clips, just, saying black should be gangbangers, black should be vicious, black should be, again, that was done to destroy black communities, kind of the cherry on top. And it makes me sick. Let's go ahead and go to this clip of him right here. Here's Bill Maher.
So I would just like to say, for anyone thinking about voting for Mitt Romney, if that's who you are, if you're thinking about voting for Ritter, I would like to make this one plea. Black people know who you are, and they will come after you.
You know what? If people see that and they think it's license, I will guarantee you, with 3 million listeners a day conservatively, if I got up on air and I said, go attack a certain group, I guarantee you, people would go out and attack. That's just the way it is. Everybody's got unstable viewers and listeners. And that guy, they air it over and over again, has probably 10 million viewers in a week. Not even a million watch it when it first airs, but they air that thing over and over again. I've looked at the numbers. Probably 10 million viewers worldwide, probably 5 million of them, guesstimation. I've seen the numbers before, domestically. Wow, what happens if Romney wins by hook or by crook or whatever? White people deserve to be attacked? Because black people know you're white and know you did it? I mean, that is crazy. And this is something that's taught by the new Black Panther Party leaders down in Houston. I've seen them on the news say, don't mug in the black neighborhood, go mug in the white neighborhood. How about don't mug anywhere? You see, this is so crazy. And this is meant to get whites and blacks scared of each other. That's what that sick pimp is doing. That's what he's doing, is to destroy unity, and where better to do it but from a fake liberal perspective. Bill Maher is a disgusting pig and ought to be wearing a swastika armband because that's the type of stuff Nazis did. Next hour is coming up. I'll go right to your calls in the news. Finishing up, since I mentioned it, there's a bunch of these clips. We're getting a whole bunch of them together right now for the nightly news tonight and tomorrow night just to document this. Here's the Michael Moore video, part of it, where the woman says we're going to burn this MFer down. And then they cut to the guy in Spanish saying, yes, we can. This is Michael Moore. Burn things down if Mitt Romney gets elected. It's fraud. Here it is. They say it's a message from the greatest generation. And it cuts to the old lady and the old man, all of them sitting there.
I was born in 1915 during World War I. My first vote was in 1940 for Franklin D. Roosevelt, and I have not missed an election since. And I want the Republican Party to know, if your voter suppression throughout this beautiful country enables Romney to oust Barack Obama, we will burn this down.
Sí se puede.
That's enough. That's enough. And this woman goes on to say she's going to punch Romney in the testicles and then rip him off. The issue is it goes on and on. Speaking of election coverage, you can go to Infowars.com and click on the Infowars Covers Puppet Election Live. The video feed that's normally for PrisonPlanet.tv subscribers, it's free right now. The nightly news tonight, all of it in that box. You click on the big banners at the top. The puppet show at the top of InfoWars, we put a special background up. It takes you to the feed where you can find the video players. Please email this to your friends and family. Please tweet this out to everyone you know. Also for the election, government can't and won't protect you. That's been proven. Let's get prepared ourselves this election. Let's decide to get high-quality water filtration and stop drinking the city tap water. You can even get fluoride filters that go with it if you want to order those. With the ProPure, we already have the lowest price with 10% off, ladies and gentlemen. Well, if you go to InfoWarsStore.com and type in for the election, Water 15, it's not the normal 10% off that's the lowest price anywhere. It's 15% off. We're going to run that until Friday. And we have that promo code, Water15, along with some other promo code coupons posted in the Listen Live section. So you go to PrisonPlanet.com or Infowars.com and just click on the top banner, it says Infowars election coverage, special election coverage. You click on that, and it will take you to the page, or just go to Infowars.com/election, and it will take you there as well. And there are some promo codes right there on the site. But you've heard the callers. More than half the people in New York, New Jersey didn't have water filters, didn't even have things to store water, didn't have extra gas, didn't have food, and thank God other citizens took care of them. But if there is ever a longer crisis, if there's ever a longer problem, we're going to have big problems, obviously, and people need to be prepared. And when you purchase ProPure from us, the other preparedness items at InfoWarsStore.com, it makes the transmission possible because we're funded by you buying our products and supporting us and our sponsors. We're not like the MSNBC that gets banker bailout money or how the government takes billions of money and puts it into propaganda and TV shows. No, we're not state-sponsored media. We're people-sponsored media by patriots like you. So InfoWarsStore.com. Okay, I'm going to race through a bunch of your phone calls, then get into the geopolitical news, the latest on the hurricane and election. 2012 coming up tomorrow. Right now, let's go back to your calls. CJ in Arizona, then Michael and others. CJ, welcome.
Hello, how you doing, Alex?
Good, sir. Thanks for calling.
Just real quick. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm a longtime listener. We talked about the Hurricane Katrina, or I'm sorry, Sandy, but no one ever talked about Plum Island. Isn't that off the coast of Staten Island?
Yes. The good news is it's been partially converted away from zoological, but whatever they're doing is classified. But, yeah, right off the coast of New York/New Jersey is Plum Island Biological Weapons Research Facility.
Yeah, because one of my guys that is from New York and has family from New York was saying they call that Anthrax Island. So I was just seeing if you would touch on that a little bit.
It's been confirmed by a lot of mainline scientific reports that Lyme's disease is really a weaponized form of tick-borne syphilis. And the top Nazi that they brought over in Operation Paperclip in the rat line, the general, this is mainline news, you can look it up, he developed and weaponized it there on the island. And the deer then swam the mile or so over, deer are known to do that, and got over to the mainland. That's the problem with level 4 bioweapons labs now being built all over the U.S., is that this stuff can get out even if the globalists don't intend it to. But every week now there's new declassifications of cities being radiated on purpose and reactors blowing up and it being covered up. I mean, look, we got crazy people running things that love death. And good people always just seem to be blindsided by it because they can't imagine somebody's like that.
Yeah. And I have another question. With any kind of preparation, I'm a single father with 2 kids. It's really hard to prepare. How would you have any ideas of preparing for fallout with children?
What type of fallout, sir?
Like civil unrest, like martial law, anything like that.
Well, you know, Arizona's not perfect because it's arid, but you do have a lot of gun owners there and kind of a frontier spirit still there to a certain extent. I'm not going to analyze your entire area. But I would get the book, Strategic Relocation. I would get the film, Strategic Relocation, because it's not just about relocating. It's about your region, your area, other countries, all broken down. It gets you into the process of thinking about it. I mean, I know all about this stuff, and I'm just now trying to, you know, I've got out to the country, trying to get a deeper well, trying to get some solar in, trying to get everything, you know, rainwater collections in, just basic stuff. But if you don't have a lot of money and things, it's real simple. Firearms, knowing how to use them, having maps in your car, having an escape route. You know, there's a lot of really, 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 really simple things out there that you can do.
All right, thank you. But I just really wanted to touch on Plum Island and keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. God bless. Again, if you do the document cam shot over here for people watching at prisonplanet.tv, another plug here, you get a free citizen rule book, whether the Secure Home, Strategic Relocation, the film that just came out, that we're now shipping this week. We're going to premiere that Thursday night on InfoWars Nightly News, all 2 hours plus. It's got extras on securing your home. I mean, it's just invaluable, absolutely invaluable information that everybody needs to have. And so it's a win-win. You get information you need. You also support the transmission and the work we're doing here. And every order, again, gets a free citizen rule book. When you get Strategic Relocation, the film or the book. But, the film has some things in it that aren't in the book. The book has some things in it that aren't in the film. The two go together like a horse and carriage. So it's all there at InfoWarsStore.com. And I should give the number out. Earlier, I didn't give the number out. I was talking about ProPure, and you can get 15% off now with the promo code WATER15. Was 10%. That's hardly the lowest price anywhere. 888-253-3139. 888-253-3139. Or you can, again, just go to InfoWarsStore.com. Okay, we're going to come back. Boom, boom, boom. Go to your calls. Michael and others that are patiently holding, and we will continue to break down the big spectacle that even if you know it's a fraud, it's still going to be a train wreck, the election kicking off tomorrow. Yes, and Mitt Romney has been elected the 45th president of the United States. Wait. Stop the presses. No, he hasn't. And I cut a video basically saying that, but then pointing out 15 seconds later he hadn't been, to then show Democrats saying Obama's going to win. There's no way he's going to lose. And if he does, it's election fraud, and we're going to burn things down and riot. You now have Michael Moore pushing this and calling for this. You now have Slimeball Matthews pushing that there's, that it's fraud if Obama isn't elected, and the George Soros type groups out there. You've now got Bill Maher saying black people are going to hunt down white folks and get them, which is just ridiculous. It's just so over the top. That little pencil neck up there on TV trying to say, be gangster. It's so condescending. It's so racist is what it is. And I'm just so tired of it. You don't need to wake up to the hoax that's going on with the Democratic Party. I'm not saying the Republican Party likes you either. Doesn't like anybody. At the top, it's a bunch of globalists as well, but it's two different gangs that have the same goals. They just got to act like they're different enough to be able to get people to vote for them. So we're going to be taking your calls, and then I'm going to get into a story that's up at drudgereport.com. It's a naturalnews.com story. Baltimore announces citywide surveillance rollout of the records of passengers' conversations. And again, it records passengers' conversations on city buses. We're going to be breaking some of that down. Also, Debka file, Israel warplanes fly over Golan as Hezbollah fighters pour into Syria. And I went and looked into this. It is true that a lot of Hezbollah are coming out of Lebanon now into Syria, and Hezbollah is basically run by Iran. So that proxy war is just going haywire. We're going to be breaking down the latest on the election and the polls as well. But let's go to your phone calls right now. Michael in Canada, you're on the air.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for taking my call. A long-time listener, first-time caller. Kind of a pretty good intro into what I was going to talk today about, which is this election stuff with what I see as the scripting that's been going on with all this race baiting and stuff. Imagine a closely contested election with the UN observers stepping forward, pointing out election fraud, and then all these riots begin to start down there, and all of a sudden the election results are going to be suspended. Martial law is imposed, and what a great cover for a financial collapse or an attack on Iran.
I'll tell you this, the globalists, this has been proven over and over again with declassifications, they always have plans where if something starts happening on its own, they capitalize on it. That's what Rahm Emanuel famously said. Guys, you cue that up. I think we have it saved. It's on C-SPAN. It's like 20 seconds. Don't let a good crisis go to waste. He also said it to the Wall Street Journal. There's video from them, too. He said it repeatedly. But yeah, they always have contingency plans, dozens of them running, for any contingency, any scenario on how to capitalize, what their focus groups, what their studies, what their NSA snooping shows, the public's really thinking versus what they tell pollsters, and how they're going to try to game us. I mean, it's a scientific system we face, but being aware of it is half the battle. It's not unstoppable if people just wake up to it. But I've got to say, it looks like it's in the cards. Doesn't mean they're going to play that card, but you got 5, 6 cards in your hand. It's in the fist right now of the establishment to basically activate and have provocateurs or whatever start rioting and burning things down as some type of crisis if the election is contested. Because, yeah, I mean, if Romney just won, I don't think people would riot. But if it's close and it comes out there's fraud and the Supreme Court's going to hear it, Obama told his cousin Odinga to riot so he would get a place in the government, and they created the prime ministership for him. And Webster Tarpley kind of pointed this out in the Obama deception, which is still the preeminent film exposing Obama. It's free online, folks, if you just type in the Obama deception. In fact, I think I'll tweet out the best high-res link of that to folks. Yes, I mean, I'm ranting off of your point, but that's pretty much what I was thinking before the show today, and I never got around to saying it. What do you make of Bill Maher saying black people need to go out and hunt down whites if Romney's elected? What do you make of Michael Moore putting out multiple videos, saying physically attack Romney if he wins, burn things down if Romney wins? I mean, that really is a call for criminal action, and it's not a joke. I mean, this is what we're seeing on Twitter, and then I get criticized when I point it out by globalist media implying I'm racist because I don't want to have racial conflict in this country that could set things back decades.
Well, I think there is an element within the liberal left race-baiting crowd that is drooling at the prospect of an absolutely out-and-out race war in the United States. I think they've been looking for it for a long time. And
no, they said they have. I mean, that's what all of Obama's advisors that came out in trials, Ayers and others said, we're going to implode the economy, pose as saviors, put 50 million people in re-education camps and kill half of them. And now the Army says they have the camps. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, again, from the perspective of the sort of New World Order types, they would ritually want to have America destroy itself. And hence you've had the production moved offshore because if they want to maintain it, they've got to get it out of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, look, America was not perfect, but we were the example of freedom. 4% of the population had half the wealth, the biggest middle class the world had ever seen, an example that countries had to live up to. The communist countries couldn't produce 1/10, and so they brought in globalism to wreck us, to take our jobs and ship them to authoritarian nations to make authoritarianism the model. And so China and Singapore and other tyrannies, they admit, are now the models. I open up Time Magazine, I open up Wall Street Journal, I'm thinking of things I've read in the last year. I open up National Geographic, and they call it the Singapore model, which is really the kind of the Chinese authoritarian model with a British-style overlay. And that's where they want to go. And let me tell you, it isn't a nice place. God bless you. I appreciate your call. Let's go to another caller here. Yeah, great points he just made. Who's been holding the longest here? Let's talk to Cindy in Ohio. Welcome, Cindy.
Hello?
Hey, Cindy.
Alex, long-time listener, first-time caller, and I admire your courage, your stamina, and your wife for giving you the space to do this. Anyway, I'm sort of a storm victim. Power went out here. I just got back from a hotel for a week. I'm in North Olmsted, a suburb of Cleveland, and I've lived here all my life, and it wasn't that bad. And the fact that I think it was up to 500,000 people without power for an extended period of time is very suspicious to me. And because I'm aware of HARP and all of those things, I knew this was coming. We are a swing state after all. Do I sound nervous?
No, ma'am. You sound great.
Okay. So I was prepared. I got a hotel room and all that. And just got back today, was gone for almost a week. And the interesting thing is this. What happened with the state of Ohio is we sent out CEI, Ohio Edison, workers to help New Jersey. So we didn't have anyone here. And I was at the Holiday Inn, and a big shout-out for them. They were wonderful. They didn't raise rates. They reduced rates. And while I was there, it was filled with electrical workers shipped in from Colorado. Now look at the map. How far is Colorado from Ohio? Colorado is also a swing state. And I'm not sure how that works as far as counting voters and all of that, but it seems very unusual to me that they would haul into Ohio all these people from Colorado. You know, there's Indiana, there's Illinois, there's, you know, plenty of states closer. Isn't that interesting?
Well, a lot of it is Colorado has dealt with a lot of natural disasters. I mean, that could be one of the reasons. I don't know, though. That's something we should look into.
Wish you would. And while I've got you on the phone, one quick point, and I'm glad I got through to tell you this because I hear you talking about HARP and all that, and you may not know this. There's a company called it's a multinational called BAE Systems, BAE. I know you've heard of them. They bought the HARP patents, and have your people look this up. And they have their headquarters located now, this is like within the past 2 years, in Saudi Arabia. So in Saudi Arabia now are housed the patents for the HARP project.
Well, I knew that there are literally hundreds of patents dealing with weather modification, well, really probably thousands, but dozens and dozens from the Eastman Corporation that originally developed the HARP program really 50 years ago or so. But thank you so much for your points. Again, we're going to continue tracking the election. We're going to continue taking your phone calls. I want to get into some Big Brother news here in a moment. But since I mentioned it, here is that video and audio of Rahm Emanuel when he was White House chief of staff before he went on to run Chicago as the big boss there, saying that don't let a good crisis go to waste.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do.
And I guess that's a shorter version that we found there. In fact, can we find the long version where he goes on and explains all of it? Yeah, because here, I can do it. Just, I can pull up. You can't hear my audio? What do you mean? No, I mean, I can find you a spot where it's at with the full clip. We've saved that clip quite a few times. Let's just call it "Don't Let a Good Crisis Go to Waste," and we'll try to get that clip for everybody. But there was part of the quote. Here is a quote: Henry Kissinger, an address to the Bilderberg Organization meeting in Evian, France, May 21st, 1991, transcribed from the tape recording made by one of the Swiss delegates. Henry Kissinger: today Americans would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all peoples of the world will pledge with world leaders and will plead with world leaders to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenarios, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their will, free will, with a guarantee of their well-being granted them by their world government. All right, we'll be right back with more of your calls and news. Stay with us. We are back live. You see, they have sold to the general public that as they get poorer and poorer, that it's wealth that's bad, that it's freedom that's bad, when what's bad is insider crony monopolies stealing the wealth through government and regulation while shutting down people that want to produce and have ideas. I want a level playing field. I want to encourage strong individualism, and that's what creates wealth. Since we got big government in the last 50 years, we've gone from having half the world's wealth and being 4% of the population of the world. Out of 100, we were 1, 2, 3, 4. 4%, not even 10%. And we had more than half the wealth. Now it's down to like 25 to 30%, depending on which number you look at. Half our wealth is gone. And it's going to get worse. It's all designed all by design to reduce us to absolute serfdom and slavery. If we ever allow private banks to take control of the issuance and control of currency, our children will wake up homeless on the continent our forebears conquered. That's Thomas Jefferson. And 1913, guess who's been running the show for 99 years? About to be 100. Time to get rid of these boys. Time to arrest them. Or you can keep going down the road, because, see, these aren't just people that want to run everything. They want to run your body. They like putting stuff in your body, and they like killing you. That's their instinct, is a will to total domination. And you know what? I don't like it. I don't like the world they build. They're ugly. New World Order's ugly, and I don't like them. And I want to wake people up and defeat them and move humanity back in the right direction. Doesn't mean we've got all the answers. Doesn't mean we're offering some utopia. But we know where they're taking us is hell. I'll take just a normal system over dystopia. I'm not offering utopia, but I know we can get away from this dystopic reality. Let's go to some phone calls here, and then I'll come back with news and more calls. Lauren in New York, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
How you doing, Alex?
I'm all right, sir.
From New York. Here's the thing. Here's my take on this, and I'm going to let you break it down. Obama, the thing is with Obama, we all know he's a Marxist. He has ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. He has ties to every Muslim down there in Libya. He had ties to his cousin over there, like you were saying, I believe just today. He has ties to his cousin over there, who is a Muslim. So we need to really evaluate ourselves as American people. Now, at the end of the day, I don't have anything against Muslims, but this guy is the worst type of Muslim. He's one of those guys. I don't understand. He doesn't factor in his skin color at all, because he let Al Qaeda kill black people in wholesale in Libya. I don't understand how.
And by the way, I predicted it. Webster Tarpley predicted it in the Obama deception. That's what freaks me out. Tarpley says Romney's going to be worse, and I'm just desperate. I'm like somebody. I was thinking this morning when I was swimming down about 20 feet under the water in the river. I went for an exercise, a mile swim. Didn't have time to swim 2 miles. Point is, I went down. Usually I go down 25, 30 feet sometimes in some of the deeper areas. But I went down and only about 20 feet and kind of didn't have a good breath of air. And I wanted to get up to the top. And I likened it to that. Wanting to get out of this New World Order is like someone who's underwater who just wants oxygen. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't understand how Romney could be worse than that. I mean, black people were killed in wholesale in Libya. Cleansed. How could Romney be worse than that? I can't see it.
Well, again, I mean it's the illusion that we all buy into. Even if we know it's an illusion, we're like a man in the desert. Either somebody underwater that wants oxygen, even if they're not sure there's air up there, you go up, you're trying to get to it. And it's the same thing with people somewhere like the United States. I mean, we just want to believe that a president will come in and stop trying to wage war on us. But that's what they want. They want to bankrupt us to dominate us. I mean, in the old days, they just come in and you know, carpet bomb your entire city to take you over. And so this is 21st century war. It's cultural war. It's chemical war. It's biological war. It's spiritual war. But, yeah, I mean, Obama is super bad news. But, hey, these aren't wars he's launching because he got a peace prize. These are peace actions. Who do you think's going to win tomorrow?
I don't care. I just want this country to change. I want these people in jail.
Exactly. And that's the only reason I thought Romney might get in. It's just people are hitting the reset button desperately. But there's so many people that are dependent now. They think Obama, you know, is really giving them a free lunch when he's not. We'll be right back. By the way, we did find the full Rahm Emanuel clip about don't let a good crisis go to waste. We'll play that here in a moment and then get into some news and back into your calls. Also have a very informative promo that David Knight put together with the crew for our election coverage. That'll be on the radio, 11 to 2 Central, 12 to 3 p.m. tomorrow, and then back from 5 Central until past midnight with our reporters and a bunch of guests. If you just go to Infowars.com/election, you can find the page that has the free video box links if you'd like to watch the coverage. We're already streaming video there of this show and the nightly news tonight for everybody. And help us get that link out to everybody. Say, hey, you want to see real election coverage from all the angles, pointing out how both groups are basically mafias fighting for control of the CEO job of Slavery Incorporated? Well, that's what we're dealing with. But first, here is that "Don't Let a Crisis Go to Waste" clip.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. I think America as a whole in 1973 and 1974, not just my view, but obviously the administration, missed the opportunity to deal with the energy crisis that was before us. For a long time, our entire energy policy came down to cheap oil. This is an opportunity. What used to be long-term problems, be they in the healthcare area, energy area, education area, fiscal area, tax area, regulatory reform area, things that we had postponed for too long that were long-term are now immediate and must.
All right, there you go. And that's the program
provides the opportunity for us,
that the communists engage in over and over again. And again, these are mega banks using communist tactics to make us communalized and all on the plantation while they're exempt internationally from it all. See, it's really fascist is the best term, using socialist and communist authoritarian systems on the public to make you dependent. You want to domesticate somebody, you've got to give them a little bit of chicken feed. And that's what's happening here. And it's very, very sad that they've deindustrialized us. Now they know that massive numbers, some estimates are 20% of doctors are retiring earlier because they don't want to be under government health care. They don't want to be under the mandates. They've got the federal government coming in with state governments taking over healthcare institutions everywhere. And as long as you do what they say, you can do whatever you want. You can have little kids die from vaccines. You can grab people's kids. You can have the place filthy and people dying of infections. You can rip people off, but you don't play ball with them, you're going to jail. And now your health records go to the IRS so they can pass that around the government, everything that's gone on in your life. You think the IRS had enemies list before. I think the FBI used income tax stuff before. All of this is about criminals in government stacking the deck against the people. And Rahm Emanuel's a monster. You can pull clips of him up on C-SPAN, but also in speeches saying everyone will do 18 months of service in your junior and senior year of high school. And then each summer after that, from 18 to 54, you will go and be part of Brigade Homeland. And then now they have FEMA Corps. It's now been officially set up. And it's anti-gun groups marching around and spying on people and getting in people's faces. And it's just pushing government and tattletaling. And these people that are part of this, because I've seen them on the streets, they are literally like little TSA agents. And they're going to be the little Chivanos that Tony Montana talks about, the fictional character based on historical events in Scarface, written by Oliver Stone. And he's trying to get into the U.S. to get amnesty. And, you know, he's saying, I'm a political dissident. I want my rights, just like President Jimmy Carter says. And the guy says, you know what, send him to Freedom Town. He goes, hey, there's nothing you can do to me that Castro has not already done. And he goes, you want to eat squid 3-4 times a day? You want somebody telling you when to get up, when to go to sleep, when to go to work, what to wear, what to do? You want a Chivano on every corner telling you, you know, watching your every move? That's what we're going under. I mean, it's like if you said black Cadillac. Everybody knows what a black Cadillac looks like. Well, this is tyranny. It's like saying yellow school bus. Everybody knows what a yellow school bus looks like. If you have any basic understanding, like I say great white shark, you see a great white shark. If I say red bicycle, you see a red bicycle. If I say Abraham Lincoln, you see an image of Abraham Lincoln. But people don't seem to understand, or if they do, they don't understand how dangerous it is. This is tyranny, enslavement, bad, very bad. People are like, well, what does that look like? Well, it looks like what we're now midway into. And with the tyranny, they bring tyrannies in when they decide to make you poor as a tool of control. See, a lot of people say, I don't care if there's tyranny, I'm going to go along with it. Oh, you are? You don't seem to understand historically there are really bad people who like to hurt people, who like to destroy wealth, who like to take what you got, who enjoy it. Things that normal people aren't into, the Legion of Evil is into. You see, governments become these artificial constructs where really corrupt, bad people can have their way with the general population. Government becomes kingdoms where people that really can't produce anything but can socially get in and compete to be more manipulative, more corrupt, more scheming, and then it becomes a survival of the fittest of the worst of the worst who then rise to the top and take over. The city of Austin, who I've pointed out is a group of criminals, the city council by and large is just absolutely larcenous. They have gotten in trouble with the county attorney for a decade of having their meetings in secret and giving their friends and family giant contracts. I mean, it's a giant scam. I personally have gone and looked at contracts. I personally have done investigations that have sent people to prison. Just look it up. And it's openly criminal. And because citizens blew the whistle, what did the county attorney do? They said, well, you're not in trouble this time, but don't do it anymore. I was on the hike and bike trail yesterday, and I'm sitting there stretching, and my wife's already gone down the gully with the French bulldog. And I'm like, I want to stretch. She goes, I'm going to run to the bottom. I'll see you down there. And so she starts going, and I watch this group come up, and I'm sitting there stretching over to the side, and I hear them going, we're going to get more funding. We'll get the revenue this way. We'll swap that. They're like, shh, shh. Oh, there's somebody over there. And I kind of had my back slightly turned, and I could tell they were city people. So I waited until they started walking down. I started walking behind them, listening to them. Later, they're coming back, and we're down by the creek, like an hour later. And they're over there, and they're in the woods meeting in secret. And I don't know who they were or what department, but I went and eavesdropped on enough that they were having an illegal meeting in the woods. I mean, folks, this is how widespread this is. I cannot go on a hike and bike trail where in an hour and a half I might have seen 15 people to go climb up and down the hills and things. And there's literally bureaucrats meeting in the woods in secret. And then they saw me creeping over. They're like, shh, oh, he's listening. Let's go. And they kind of scurried off on down the deal, having a secret meeting. They were bureaucrats, you could tell. And they were talking about the city and how they're going to get more money. Guys, search money in the UT Permanent Fund. Last time I checked, it was $4 billion in cash, $1.5 billion in gold. Their real estate was valued at over $100 billion. And their investments, their CAFR investments, Comprehensive Annual Financial Reports investments, were at $400 billion. So I don't know how much money that is. You do the math. But the University of Texas is the richest university in the world. They charge more tuition, more to park, more. It's not even a university. It's a facade for a crime syndicate. And they want $290-something per household over the next 10 years, every year, to pay for a new university medical center when they literally own half the state of Texas. But all the public knows about is the $4 billion permanent fund and the $1.5 billion in gold and other stuff. You look at the real estate, you look at the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. I mean, you heard me, hundreds of billions. It was over $400 billion years ago when I looked it up. They've got well in excess of $500 billion in assets one way or another. Let's be conservative. And they want to set the precedent, and they've got all these idiot signs up around where I live. This is happening in your town, too, with a big heart saying, love Austin, vote for Prop 1. And I've seen polls where almost everybody's against it. It'll probably pass because they're electronic voting fraud. We're run by a mafia. Here, I'll look it up. UT Permanent Fund. That's just the one little thing they tell you about. University of Texas Permanent Fund. How much does it say is in there? Yeah, it's $12.8 billion. Yeah, that's a total for. It's much more than that. The point is that you just type in. They bought $1 billion of gold last year. They already had $500 million. You people are a bunch of lunatic crooks, okay? And I've had enough of you. And the people don't care as long as they can wear a UT shirt. That's their tribe. That's their future, to be milked by these people. And every water district, every school district, everything over 70% of their money is in private offshore funds, which are public, but no one seems to care. And they talk about how we got to raise taxes all day or we'll have to lay off cops. Give me a break. The truth is, the industrial society created fabulous wealth beyond anyone's imaginations, and they don't want the public becoming empowered because you become uppity. Let's go to this great promo this is promo 2. We've already had one promo with Jakari Jackson. This is promo number 2 with David Knight voicing it about what's coming up tomorrow during the show, and then on the 10 hours we're going to have total tomorrow. 5:30, Gerald Celente Central. 6:30, Max Kaiser, Wayne Madsen, Paul Craig Roberts, Lou Rockwell, Nomi Prinz, Webster Tarpley, and many others that we're going to have on tomorrow. And there's a free video stream. Find it at Infowars.com/election, or you can't miss it. Go to Infowars.com. We've got a new background for the site the next 2 days. It's a big, giant puppet show set, so be sure and check that out and save that link and send it on to others. Before we go back to your calls and some news, here's that promo.
Every 4 years, the United States of America hears the drumbeat of billions of campaign dollar attack ads, meaningless debates with empty analysis, and poll after poll after poll. This can only mean one thing. It's time to pick our globalist puppet leader.
We're going to be left with a choice of a lesser of two evils.
They continue to vote for these Democrats and Republicans, the people that are wrecking our country, and yet they still vote for them.
Unlike North Korea and China, we Americans have the illusion of choice this November 6th. Will it be globalist puppet A or puppet B?
I think that a lot of votes are going to be stolen by the millions. In fact, I can give you a pretty solid number, about at least 5.9 million, because I'm a statistician. I work from the government's raw data. About 5.9 million votes are going to go kapoof.
I don't know how you could possibly have voter fraud when your son owns the voting machines.
Tune in to the live video streams at Prison Planet TV or Infowars.com from 5 p.m. to midnight Central. Alex Jones will be live with some great special guests to cover what is in store for our country as we march into the arms of the New World Order. And tune in Wednesday for more live, free stream election fallout coverage from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central. Coke or Pepsi, Romney or Obama? The choice is not up to you. So join us as we talk about the real issues facing our country. Guests will include Gerald Celente, Wayne Madsen, Max Kaiser, Paul Craig Roberts, Lou Rockwell, Nomi Prinz, and Webster Tarpley. We will have live sheeple updates from polling centers and political parties around Austin. Which management team from Slavery Incorporated will run the country into oblivion for the next 4 years? Tune in to Infowars.com or Prison Planet TV this Tuesday, November 6th and Wednesday, November 7th as another meaningless pageant is played out. The streams will be free. So send the link below to all your friends on Facebook and Twitter.
Well, it's not totally meaningless. It's like, do you want to be fed into a meat grinder or a wood chipper? I mean, there are some differences. Do you want to be eaten alive by crocodiles or sharks? I mean, come on. Come on, there is some differences here. Do you want to be shot in the head with a .357 Magnum or a .45? I mean, you know, it kind of, you want to jump off a cliff into razor blades or into giant spikes. I mean, there's a lot of differences here. You want to drink arsenic or you want to drink, I don't know, what's another poison? I don't want to say, yeah, cyanide's so much more powerful, though. That would be a choice. It doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, chlorine gas, whatever. All I know is Obama's not going to be facing re-election, and I got a bad feeling. I got a bad feeling. Let's go to Mark in New York. Mark, welcome, sir. What's on your mind today?
Good afternoon, Alex. Regarding the election charade, Bill Cooper spoke of this condition before being murdered, which was 11 years ago today, as a matter of fact. I don't know if it was so much about the computerized enhancements.
Oh, I mean, it was computerized then. They fed paper scantrons predominantly into a computer, which then did whatever it wanted.
Well, on the lighter side, do you know Belzer did a stint with Lampoon years ago? Check out YouTube, Dick Ballantyne call-in radio talk show.
Yeah, I want to get Richard Belzer back on for election coverage sometime on the radio tomorrow, and I'm going to try to get, I need to call him or text him, and I want to try to get the Washington Times reporter, Joseph Curl, on. So we have a lot of surprises. Ventura's coming on as well. He's already set up for Wednesday. David Icke, always interesting. Want to get his take on everything. That is all coming up, my friend.
Good enough. Ciao, bella.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it, sir.
All right, thank you. Let's jam in one more before we go to break and come back with this Big Brother news. David in Arizona, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. First-time caller.
Welcome.
I am in Tombstone, Arizona, and I'm just outside of town. A lot of people don't know this, but you were just speaking about arsenic. And our town is being fed arsenic in the waters now because there were some fires in the Huachuca Mountains a while back, and it collapsed some of the water lines from some mudslides. And under Obama's administration, the Forestry Service is now allowing them to fix the lines. Now, these lines were put in the days of Wyatt Earp. I mean, Tombstone had plumbing.
No, it's an incredible town. In fact, I'd love to go spend a week there. Amazing history, all the old mines, Boot Hill, just amazing. Yeah, they're talking in New Jersey, not letting them rebuild Jersey Shore for the earth.
Huh. I think they're trying to choke out this town because most people are you know, we're all gun owners, and we all are anti-Obama, and you know, it's got some Old West spirit to it. So they're. Well,
I say it's time for people to ignore the criminal Forest Service and sue them, whatever. But the Forest Service, by and large, are a bunch of environmental land-grabbing cult members who don't care about the environment. It's all about a power grab. Because I'll assure you, on the Jersey Shore, it's only going to be the insiders that get to rebuild. All the mom and pops, the little environmental idiots will be out there making sure you can't rebuild. Anything else, sir?
Yes, one other thing I wanted to bring up. Also, we have a Border Patrol, NSA, and, you know, whatever, right here outside of town. So
I want to hear about it. Stay there. All right. Real fast, because I got some more news I need to hit. David in Arizona, finish your story real quick about, let me guess, the Border Patrol NSA station is just used to harass citizens and illegal aliens or God?
Oh, and anybody coming through Tombstone. And they're all Department of Homeland Security vehicles, and we've seen them in strange places. We've seen the drone aircraft. Fort Huachuca has an internment camp just waiting. I've talked to officers that are over there. It's empty. It can hold up to 15,000 people. And that's at Fort Huachuca.
No, it's in the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program, the John Warner Defense Authorization Act, the Model States Health Emergency Powers Act, the Emergency Centers Establishment Act. I mean, this has all been announced. It's in the Army manuals. I've given the codes. People are like, oh, come on. It's a rumor, and it's all right there. The proof of a criminal, lawless, evil government. Does that mean everybody that works for it is bad? No. We're all under attack together. But we've got to admit it's evil, or it's going to be able to take over. So finish your point.
And see that they can go to GoArmy.com and see that they're hiring for people to work in those camps. No,
it says internment specialist in the U.S., how to process us with our Social Security numbers. It's all there. I appreciate your call. I guess that's your point on that. Look at these stacks of news. Baltimore announces citywide surveillance rollout that records passengers' conversations on city buses. And they go on to say that, yeah, they're going to make you feel safe by watching what you say. And they've got AI computers listening to what you do, just like the schools. You know, have the laptops at home watching the kids. I mean, it's beyond 1984. PA pupils to wear tracking devices in the school to track who they talk to and what they do to save everyone from the flu. That's Fox New York. This is all a total takeover. New Jersey contracted RFID evacuate tracking tech just days before Sandy formed. That's an Aaron Dykes article. Synthetic biologists cloned children, handicapped genes right around the corner where the government's going to say, well, you're allowed to have a kid, but we've got to certify that they don't have any type of illness. Yeah, that camera looks pretty good, guys. You probably want to boost the iris up a little bit. It's a little bit low. I was going to direct you when I went over there to hit that. I'm just trying to fine tweak things. I'm not really directing here. I told them I wanted to do some of the special election coverage in here tomorrow after the radio show, and then go to our reporters for their take in the other TV studio back and forth. And then that way we can also go to reporters on the streets. So when I get off the air here, I'm going to go find out if all the new wireless equipment we've had for a year is all tested and ready to roll tomorrow. A lot of excitement there. But getting back to this here, synthetic biologists clone children, handicap genes, or hand-picking genes to knock out, quote, the handicaps. That is right around the corner. Man, I am the king of flipping words around today. But it's all integrated into the same thing. Monsanto-funded anti-GMO labeling campaign gets away with impersonating government agencies, Anthony Giuliardi. And, yeah, they're putting out ads saying the government says that, you know, you don't need non-GMO and putting the FDA seal on it. And then, meanwhile, they are all getting away with that. By the way, I saw an article today. I need to give him a call. I haven't called him in a while. Charlie Sheen, God love him. I've known him for 8 years. I knew him back when he wasn't on drugs, a really smart guy, and he's had a lot of trouble, gone through a lot. But I know his mother, I know his father. They eat only organic food. At Charlie's house, there's only organic food. And Charlie put a tweet out today saying, hey, he supports Prop 37 to be able to see what's in the food. And they had news articles attack him and say, oh, look at this guy, this drug addict, you know, this guy. You know, who cares what you say? You know, it's crazy to want to label food. Just amazing. You know what? Even though Charlie has some problems, he's a lot smarter than people that don't want to be able to know what's in their food. You know, to know if it's got bug genes mixed with the corn, or if the corn's growing its own pesticides so bugs can't eat it, but we're supposedly safe to eat it. You know what I mean? All right, retransmission coming up. Please spread the word about the free video link at Infowars.com for our special coverage tomorrow on the radio and after.